Hey guys, those who come across this video suddenly, to give you some context, there's a part 1 to this video. I'm just continuing this because the previous video was getting too long. So I'm continuing with it. This is what to do in the language paper of ICSE grade 10 board exam. Alright. So I'm just gonna tell you everything that is expected of you in the boards. The day you reach the exam hall, you will have 15 minutes of reading time. You need to start with the comprehension. Alright, nothing else. Do not move on to the grammar section. Don't move on to the essay and letter, nothing. Start with the comprehension. Alright, you will, and before you start reading the comprehension, look at the question set once, especially the 2 synonyms and 1 antonym that they've asked. Now, while you read the comprehension, try to come up with the answer in your head for the comprehension. If you are a fast reader, then you will get enough time to even read the grammar section, but you won't get time to go beyond that. But so comprehension and grammar should be an ideal combination in those 15 minutes. Go through the entire grammar section, think of the answers 10 times in your head so that when you start penning down the answer, you don't mess it up. The minute the bell goes off, you will go in this order. Question 5, question 4, question 3, question 2, question 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The order of the paper should also be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so when you begin with question 5, the most common mistake people make is they forget to leave lines in the tenses. Don't do that. You have to leave lines in the tenses wala question. Also, when you are attempting that question, make sure that you read that entire anecdote, that entire passage once from start to end before deducing the answers, because the answers that come along the way, everything can change towards the end depending on what the overall tense sequence is, because they have multiple versions. It all depends on the last sentence and the first sentence. So make sure that you've got all your tenses right. Think and then write. Once you write and cancel, you're setting a bad example for yourself. Are there negative markings for cancellations? Teachers like to tell you that there are, so that they discourage you from doing it, but no, there isn't any negative marking for cancellations. But it totally gives you a setback. You don't have an edge over other people. The minute you cancel, you've lost your advantage. So make sure that there are no cancellations. Breathe, think, then write down. Once you're done with your tenses, you'll move on to the prepositions. Again, there may be an answer where you have multiple answers in your head and you're like, all 3 are correct. Don't write multiple answers, because you're gonna get a 0 even if all answers are correct. You have to write only one answer at a time. Alright, so make sure that you go with the most probable answer in the prepositions. Once you're done with prepositions, you come to joint sentences and MCQs. Now the technique to go about this is, you should be well versed with your rules. The classic mistake people make in joint sentences is they end up going with so that, when so is actually not something you can use. Or they end up going in not only but also, but you can't use but, so you can't use not only but also. So make sure you're reading the options carefully. The meaning shouldn't change, plus you should be able to join the sentences together. A lot of prelim papers had similar options. The only difference was punctuation, that put commas, but boards doesn't focus on that. You won't get 2 options which look the same, just one is differentiated by a comma. Those questions don't come. The questions will be distinctly different. There'll be one option that's completely incorrect. There'll be one option that is, the tenses are wrong in that. The third option will be closely similar to the actual answer, but one word here and there would be wrong, and the last option is obviously going to be the correct one, right? So get through the joint sentences properly, move on to the do as directed. Now the way to go about do as directed is the same thing. Don't start looking at the MCQs. First, when you read the question, you should have the answer framed in your head. The minute you have the answer framed in your head, it's easier to locate the correct answer. Because if I have a sentence, let's say, as soon as he woke up, he went for a jog. Now I know, and use no sooner. I know the answer is, no sooner did he wake up than he went for a jog. Now the things I'll be looking out for is than, and the other thing I'll be looking for is no sooner did he wake up. So did, I'm gonna look for did. But what if I don't see did? What if I see no sooner had he? So then I'll be looking for woken up. So it can't be no sooner had he wake up. It can't be no sooner did he woke up. That's incorrect. Those questions are incorrect. The minute I see an option which has no than in it, I've eliminated those options. So the minute you have the correct answer in your head, start eliminating the options. You'll be left with 2 closely related ones. Then you need to know the technical difference in the 2. If you know your concepts well, you'll be able to tackle these questions. All right. Think and then write. And also you are expected to write the whole option. So when you write one, then C, then the whole answer. So make sure you do that. In case you mess that up, you're gonna lose marks. So be very focused when you're solving. Your focus should only be on your paper. You shouldn't turn around and look at other people that time. And take a deep breath before solving. It's a stupid technique, but it really helps you to understand the answers well. So just make sure and then read. And one technique I've taught my kids today in class was, when you're reading, right, we have this habit of just reading like this. Don't do that, because in MCQs you may miss out a word. Instead, do this. I know it looks funny, but I'll do it again. No sooner did he wake up than. So you're tapping on each word so you don't miss out a word. I think that way you don't miss out. Otherwise, if you're scanning through, you tend to miss out a word and then you'll get the answer wrong. Once you're done with the grammar section, begin on a new page, please. Alright, so you'll flip over, no matter, even if it's just one answer of grammar that's extended on one side, you will still begin on the new page. And also don't cancel that entire side and all that. Don't do that. Don't write PTO. They know they are supposed to turn over. So just move on to the next side. Begin with question 4. And also grammar section should be done in 20 minutes. I'm also giving you time management. 20 minutes में पूरा grammar section हो जाना चाहिए. 20 minutes के ऊपर गया मतलब तेरा paper complete नहीं होने वाला है. 20 minutes is a luxury. So make sure you use only 20 minutes. Then you move on to the question 4. Question 4 has 3 parts. First part would be 2 synonyms, 1 antonym. Make sure that you got your answers already while reading the paper. So you get that in under a minute, you will finish that. Question answers, when you begin, 9 marks for the question answers. One common mistake kids make is they write lengthy answers. Don't do that. They're expected to write to the point answers. Also, answers can't be in direct speech. If the entire passage is in direct speech, you will still write the answer in reported speech in your own words. Let's say that and the same rule applies to Pressy as well. Let's say my comprehension has lines like, I woke up to see 2 men in my room. But your Pressy, you'll end up writing, he woke up to see 2 people in his room. You write it in reported speech, not in first person narrative. Then you will write the question answers to the point. One of the questions in that is, detect the statement that says this. You have to frame it the correct way. The statement that says this is, and then quote the statement. That's it. 1 mark uska milta hai. Easy. After you're done, this 9 marks should take you 10 minutes, not more than that. After that, move on to the Pressy. Pressy should take you 15 minutes. Really advisable to write the rough draft, although there are no marks for the rough draft. But in case you want to get an ideal Pressy in which you not only have 50 words sharp, but no spelling mistakes, no grammatical mistakes, no spelling errors, plus a good narrative, a good framing, then there are bound to be cancellations in your initial draft, and that draft becomes your rough draft. A lot of people think rough draft has to be written in pencil. There's no such rule. Your grid has to be drawn in pencil. You have to make a grid of 5 by 10. That grid has to be in pencil. You have to cancel the rough draft. You have to use the words rough draft and then make a fair grid and then use the words fair draft and then write the whole thing. Now, if your rough draft and your fair draft are going to look the same, then don't waste time making a fair draft. That rough draft becomes the fair draft. But that rarely happens. Your rough draft will have cancellations for sure. You are going to mess up somewhere. At this point, some kid ends up asking, so what if I get less than 50 words or more than 50 words? एक word ऊपर नीचे चलता है क्या? नहीं चलता है. नहीं चलता है. You have to follow instructions, exact 50 words. Alright, after this segment, you will turn over to a new page. Now, this page is your email and notice. Obviously, the notice comes first. So that entire page में तू सिर्फ notice बनाएगा. Notice has to be in a box. Notice बहुत easy है. लोग फालतू में hype करके रखते हैं क्योंकि schools अलग-अलग school के teachers बहुत सारे अलग-अलग चौचले बोलते हैं इसमें ये है वो है इसका marks है. Boards is थोड़ा lenient about those things. They want to see your common sense. You need to be witty with this. Alright. So first thing, creative heading होगा center में. एक line छोड़ेगा तेरा actual heading होगा. Actual heading तो question से मिलेगा जो भी है. एक line छोड़ेगा on लिखेगा. एक line छोड़ेगा from लिखेगा. एक line छोड़ेगा at लिखेगा. एक line छोड़ेगा content लिखेगा. Content के अंदर what they are expecting is the audience who you are addressing the notice to. They are expecting you to write the name of the teacher who you should connect, but her designation as well. You can't just write students of secondary section who are interested to participate can give their names to Mr. Sheshawadia. Who is Sheshawadia? So you will say our coordinator, Mr. Sheshawadia. You have to write a designation. Also, a simple trick way is to give your names to respective class teachers. Easiest way to do this. And then also write the date towards the end. Now, in this notice, there are 2 ways or 2 methods of writing a notice, but for which you can refer to my YouTube video on notice and email writing. That's ideal. Just stick to that. Alright, after that, you'll come on to the email on a new page, make sure that you write the entire email properly. I have explained half of this in the previous video, and again there's a YouTube video where I've explained notice and email writing. Move on to the new question. So एक साइड पूरा नोटिस होगा, बॉक्स बना नोटिस में, एक साइड पूरा ईमेल होगा, नेक्स्ट साइड पे तेरा होगा लेटर. Now in a letter, don't go with that mentality of formal or informal. टॉपिक समझ, टॉपिक को ठीक से पढ़. One of the most common mistakes people make is they don't read the question completely. Read the question correctly. Sometimes the first part of the question is not a question, it's a statement. They are giving you a scenario. So understand that you have moved to a new house. You have moved to a new house. You don't have to actually write that. They are telling you you've moved to a new house. Focus on what part the question is addressing. Then make sure you make a mental note of what all you need to address in your letter. Then plan it out in your head quickly, because email and notice, your notice should not take you more than 5 minutes. 5 minutes luxury है, and your email should not take you more than 15 minutes. 15 minutes से ऊपर गया तो पेपर कंप्लीट नहीं होने वाला है, ठीक है. ईमेल के बाद तेरा लेटर राइटिंग है. लेटर राइटिंग विल ऑल्सो गेट ओवर इन 15 minutes. योर 2 sides of letters. फॉर्मल लेटर में कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस अलाउड नहीं है. इनफॉर्मल लेटर में दिल से लिख जो भी लिख रहा है. ऑल्सो ऑलवेज आस्क योरसेल्फ द क्वेश्चन, व्हाई आर यू राइटिंग अ लेटर and why you writing a letter to this particular person. तेरे लाइफ में सॉल्व हो गया है, इसको क्यों लिख रहा है. सो एक ऐसा सिनारियो क्रिएट कर जिससे कि तू ये बंदे को इंपॉर्टेंट फील करा सके, एंड यू कैन एक्चुअली गिव मीनिंग टू योर लेटर, लाइक एज टू व्हाई. एंड इन फॉर्मल लेटर द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन टू आस्क योरसेल्फ इज व्हाट ट्रिगर्ड यू to write a formal letter. There are so many causes in the world. Do you always keep writing a letter? No. You will write a letter when there's been a personal attack, when something has actually personally affected you. Only then that has triggered you to write the letter. Once you are done with your formal letter, you'll move on to your essay. Now, the most trickiest part of this is the essay. Now, essay should have 40 minutes. So, if you follow this time frame, you will be left with 40 minutes. 40 minutes is not for writing. 40 minutes is for planning. मतलब 40 minutes में 20 minutes is for planning, 20 minutes is for writing. People would sometimes neglect this part and say plan कौन करता है, मैं तो एक नेचुरल आर्टिस्ट हूँ, मेरे मन में ही आता है. ऐसा नहीं होता है. तेरे को प्लान करना पड़ेगा. प्लान क्या करना है एग्जैक्टली? तेरे को प्लान करना है कि तेरा essay has to be of 300 to 350 words. On an average, a child writes 10 words in a line. That means in 10 lines 100 words, and in 30 lines 300 words. Then you have to divide that into paragraphs. So 5 paragraphs each of 6 lines. That's how your calculation works. So you make five paragraphs of 6 lines each. So that's around. अब मैं मैथ चला गया, बट तू कैलकुलेट कर ले, तेरा काम है वो करना. बट मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि व्हेन यू आर प्लानिंग, बिफोर यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग, यू नीड टू हैव द एंटायर सीक्वेंस इन योर हेड. ऑल्सो फॉर एसेज यू नीड टू चेंज पैराग्राफ्स लीविंग अ लाइन. सो आई शुड सी 5 crisp paragraphs over 2 sides, and before that what I advise my kids is to write a plan. Plan has different words in different cultures, like different schools across the country. Some people call it an outline, some people call it a plan, some people call it a thinking box, whatever you want to call it. I call it common sense. Like, because you will have to think, no, if you have to write a perfect, if a teacher is checking 50 essays in a day, all 50 are rubbish essays which have not been planned, she comes to your essay and then she sees a plan. She knows that this kid has put in efforts. And the plan can't be a made up plan कि तू ऐसे पहले लिख ले फिर तू प्लान बनाने बैठ रहा है just to show off. टीचर्स बेवकूफ नहीं, वो समझ जाएंगे. तो पहले प्लान कर. ऐसे में क्या क्या प्लान करना होता है? फर्स्ट थिंग, टॉपिक चूज कर केयरफुली. Like, you should have the entire plot in your head. I would personally recommend going for narrative or going for story. These are the most amazing topics to go for because creative flow easy होता है. Descriptive should be, you should refrain from attempting descriptive unless you are a voracious reader. You have been a voracious reader. You've got an enriched vocabulary. You know how to use visual imageries, auditory imageries. You have this skill of appealing to people's senses. Then you can go ahead with your descriptive essays. Otherwise, you should stick to narrative or story. And narrative and story में difference ये है कि narrative has to be age appropriate. You are a school student, you can't be older than that. It has to be realistic, it has to be mature. Your story can be a fantasy, it can have imaginary things which are not really possible. But I would say the easiest way to appeal to a teacher or to get a good score in essays is to make your essays relatable. Now I can't obviously teach you the entire essay writing technique because वो एक लंबा process है, but मैं तेरे को क्विक चीज बोल रहा हूँ. कुछ भी लिख, बट मेक श्योर दैट it should appeal to a wider audience. Most kids end up writing an essay keeping a local upbringing in mind. You have been raised in Kolkata, you've been raised in Mumbai, or Mumbai ka child only writes as Mumbai thing. They assume that everyone will know what they are talking about. ऐसा नहीं होता. It should appeal to an audience. Everyone should be able to visually understand what is it that you're trying to create. For which you need to have not just a plot, you need to have characters, not more than 3. You need to have character traits, character descriptions. You need to have setting is the most important thing. Instead of just saying that Ram and Sham used to live in a village, just give full names to your characters. Give a name to the village. Give a setting, a rainy day or sunny, scorching heat, things like that, and also the main thing. Move on to the plot. Within the first 200 words, that's 20 lines, तेरा plot अगर begin नहीं हो रहा है, you're just beating around the bush, you're just going on and on, droning on and on, you're gonna lose marks. You need to get straight to the point and then start writing whatever other things you need to write. So you need to start with your best first, and the best way to do this is to start with the climax. Climax से begin कर, then start going in retrospective, like to start working your way back to where it all began. Things like that. ये सब basic tips है essays के लिए. ऐसे में title necessary marks नहीं मिलता है, but it's you should do it. These are basic things. बच्चे सबसे पहले मुझे सब plan का marks मिलता है क्या? नहीं मिलता है. But तू plan नहीं करेगा तो तेरा ऐसे अच्छा नहीं होने वाला. मैं गारंटी से बोल रहा हूँ. Plan कर ऐसे, सोच, उसके बाद बना. ये 40 minutes के बाद तुमको रीचेकिंग का टाइम नहीं मिलने वाला, by the way. So in case you are thinking, sir, what a bad planning, you should have planned better. There is no better plan to this. You can't reduce your writing time anywhere, and you don't get time to recheck anywhere. So the ideal thing to do is to make sure that when you are writing, you are thinking 10 times before you write, and then go ahead and write it. Okay? तो अगर ऐसे रश करके लिखेगा तो तू प्लान नहीं कर रहा है, रश करके लिखेगा और रीचेक करेगा तो तू वैसे भी गलती कर रहा है. उससे अच्छा सोच के लिख ताकि गलती ना हो. Done. That's it. If I think of more things, I'll keep adding, but I think this video is also a long video. So all the best, do well, and I don't want to talk more because time is precious for you guys, so you shouldn't be wasting time. I love you guys. Take care, and all the best. I'll be praying for you.